But the key to success is working hard. For our country, we must have regard. Forget all your differences, let we start to build. And onward to progress we surely will. Because now, more than ever, we must show discipline, tolerance, and production to build a strong and better nation. I say that is the main foundation. So come let us work hand in hand, because this is our land. Come my brother, come my sister, and let us build a nation together.
Come my brother, come my sister, and let us build a nation together. I want to welcome you wherever you are. I want to encourage those on Facebook to please share the live. And while you're on that page, Grenada Transformation Agenda, click follow or like the page. If you are on YouTube, please subscribe. Vision Information Services, please subscribe and share so other people, your friends, can discover the page. I want to say to those who are listening on Vibes 101.3 FM and Vibes 106.3 FM, please tell a friend that they can get the program, they can listen to the program from 8 to 9 on that frequency or the two frequencies. Those who are listening on Wild 106.3 FM out there in New York, you should do the same thing because it will be very convenient if you're in your vehicle and you can just tune in while in New York on some frequency and listen to a program. And in this case, you can tune in to Wild 106.3 FM in New York in your vehicle or on your gadget and listen to the program. I want to say that we are faced with a challenge. We want to develop Grenada. We want to transform Grenada. We want to bring prosperity and opportunities to our people. But in the way is a group of people. They're considered to be obstructionists or enemies of progress. What they want is power. They are not concerned about your well-being or Grenada developing or transforming and our people prospering. They are not concerned about that. They just want power. It's like somebody want your job and they would do anything to get it. They would even go as far as do you evil or, try to cause you to be sick or maybe even die because they want your job so bad that they will do anything to get it. That is what we are up against in Grenada. And hence the reason I continue to say, please pray for this government. Pray for our Prime Minister. Pray for the ministers of government. And I always encourage them to be secured in the Lord, to protect themselves with the full armor of God. That's important because they're up against a force that really want power. They have the money. They can do all kinds of nasty things. So you have to be grounded in faith. You don't have to be perfect because no one is perfect. But believe, and that's important. So I want to encourage you, continue to pray for them. we saw only recently in the parliament a usual pattern where just before the parliament finishes, let's say 30 minutes before, 40 minutes before, hour before, the leader of the opposition, Keith Mitchell, many a times will just exit the parliament, will just leave as though he's in charge. So he's leaving, and you could continue to debate. You could continue to discuss the people's business because I am the boss and I can leave when I want. That is what you get from this character. And he does so quite frequently. But his supporters have no problem with that. His supporters are happy that he can just pick up and just go and leave his other colleagues behind. It's embarrassing to all of us. But I want to play for you again what our Prime Minister had to say when that happened and his rebuttal to what Keith Mitchell was throwing out there. Because it's important, very important. And then I will also play for you a piece from the Senate with the Honorable David Andrew and what he had to say with the gains made in education and his rebuttal to those who are spreading that misinformation out there. It's important. So let me at this point feature the Most Honorable Deacon Mitchell, our beloved Prime Minister. That's important, folks.
Is the end of that first paragraph. As I said, I would pass the copies. If members have not seen it, if they wish to read it, there are 20 copies here, Mr. Speaker. So I would make it available as I close this afternoon's. I had a lot more. As I said, there are other times with the budget coming up, and we have a country that's free with information. As far as information is concerned, we will be talking a lot more outside of this house on some of the things that we've seen today, but to say that we will not shirk our responsibility to do what we have to protect this country. So, Speaker.
Yes, you may.
So,
all right, thank you very much, Honorable. Okay. And you have not missed speaking. Okay, Honorable Leader of the Opposition. Honorable Prime Minister.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Speaker. The pattern continues. I'd like to see, since I've been in this House, an opportunity where the Leader of His Majesty's Opposition actually stays for the entirety of the debate, rather than always conveniently leaving after he's given the opportunity to speak. I thought we were getting an improvement today because he actually stayed to hear what his distinguished colleagues had to say on the first motion, but as is customary of him, he ran off before the debates are concluded. Mr. Speaker, I want to respond on a couple of issues. First of all, authorization to borrow is not borrowing. Let me repeat that. Authorization to borrow is not borrowing. Our law requires that if we are going to borrow, or in the event we're thinking of borrowing, it will make good sense for us to get that approval, rather than borrow and then come to seek to get the approval. So let me make it clear. The Saudi Development Fund loan, there is no loan as yet. And there is no signed or agreed loan agreement as yet. That's one. Two, the climate smart infrastructure project that is referred to is not something we created. It is something we met in the pipeline. And it's quite clear that the Leader of His Majesty's Opposition has correspondence addressed to him in his then former capacity as Prime Minister, which he seems to have in his possession. And I hope, for all our sakes, that those official records are in fact in the Prime Minister's office and in the Ministry of Finance, and not government records that have been taken and kept in a private capacity, as some members in the more developed world are want to do. And there are other main areas of Grenada, for example, the oil and gas, where very little or no files exist within any of the official government ministries, but we will deal with that one in due course. So let me say this, Mr. Speaker. This Climate Smart Cities infrastructure project, as he made obvious reference to, is a project developed and pursued by the former administration. And as it's clear, there is no funding for the project. And as he himself has indicated, discussions with the Saudi Development Fund has been ongoing long before we got into office. And those discussions continue. There has been several rounds of negotiations by the technical teams and even at the political level. And I can say to you, Mr. Speaker, he's not here, but to members of the House, that as Prime Minister, leading this government, we are not keen on borrowing money. Period. And if we do borrow, we will ensure that the borrowing is as concessional as we can obtain it. And that is precisely the reason why there is no loan at this point in time. Because we are ensuring that if we do get to the point where there is actually a loan, that it must be on the best terms possible to the people of Grenada. You may have heard, Mr. Speaker, that several other islands have gone ahead and signed with the Saudi Development Fund for various projects, and we have not. And I will not be badgered into signing a loan simply because people are offering money. How can people offering money all over the place, Mr. Speaker? If you prepare to borrow money on favorable terms, people will lend it to you, right? So I want to make this point. It is because we are acutely aware of our commitment to ensuring that our debt to GDP ratio remains low and continues to be lowered that we have not signed this agreement. That's one. Second, I can certainly assure you that any loan agreement we sign will first be put through the debt management unit so that they can give us their counsel as to whether or not it is an appropriate borrowing or debt that we need to speak about. The leader of His Majesty's opposition speaks about the IDA concessional financing that we get from the World Bank. These are almost standard things, which we continue to get. And I'm sure if he continues to read all the reports coming out of the World Bank and the IMF, he will appreciate that that in fact continues. That the 10-year concessional, the 40-year repayment periods, all of these things continue. So I notice his very impassioned plea about the debt to GDP ratio. But he seemed to have forgotten, as he said, he presided over this country for 23 years as Prime Minister.
Right. So, folks, if you are on Facebook and YouTube, your screen will be black, but you're hearing the voice with better quality. So I'm actually playing the audio because last night I played that piece and it was not good quality, the video aspect of it. So I am playing this with the audio, the two pieces I'm playing this morning. So you have to listen and you realize the quality is better. The audio is better. All right? So again, saying the reason why you're seeing your screen black screen is because I am more focused on the audio, you hearing, because when I play the video aspect, it's sticking, buffing, because the quality I'm getting from where I'm downloading this is not a good quality in terms of the video, but the audio is okay. So you have to listen instead of you wanting to see. All right? So that's important. It's good on the radio, it is good on Facebook, and good on YouTube in terms of the quality, the audio. So you're hearing what the most honorable Deacon Mitchell had to say. That's important.
When our debt to GDP skyrocketed and went over 100% of our GDP, who do you think did the borrowings? When we borrowed 100 million for stadium that collapsed and that wasn't insured, who do you think did the borrowing? When we guaranteed 16 million for Mr. Miller down in Mount Hartman, and not even a goat was put on the ground to graze. Instead, they ran farmers off the land. Who do you think paid the money? The taxpayers. When they unilaterally, without thinking it through, switched from Taiwan to China, and all the loans that were owed to Taiwan immediately became due, who do you think was the Prime Minister? So when we talk about we brought it down, not the opposition that brought it down, the taxpayers of Grenada who brought it down. All of the homegrown structural adjustment that was placed on the backs of Grenadians, it is Grenadians who bore the taxes, who bore the increased prices, and who still bear it. So this, we brought it down, and we managed. Who's we? It's the taxpayers of the country who are paying, and still paying it. Hundreds of millions of dollars gone up in smoke. For all kinds of guarantees, for all kinds of conmen all over the place. So when we want to talk about not providing details, ask them how many times the story changed about where the money came from to buy back the shares in Grenada. Did they come and disclose to this house that they sold Mount Hartman for 40 million US? 20 million being paid in December 2021 thereabouts, another 20 million being paid in 2022, a couple months before the election. Did they ever disclose that to us? And that there was a contractual obligation to sell the remaining piece, including the Dove Sanctuary. Did they disclose that? For another 20 million. So, a lot of us keep going about history and what have you. I've been Prime Minister for approximately 14 months. He's been Prime Minister for 23 years. It is because we are acutely aware of the consequences of borrowing that we are here in a transparent manner, first of all getting authorization to borrow. And I can assure you, if the terms of the borrowing are not satisfactory, there will be no loan. The Climate Smart Infrastructure Project is not something we dreamt up. It was something that the government, together with the New York University, worked on. It is a good project because it seeks to preserve the Carenage, which invariably, with sea level rise, is already underwater. It seeks to address Brandon's Beach, which is likely to disappear in the next 30 years. Well, see, if we start talking the east coast of St. Andrews, southwest and southeast, in many instances, it's gone already. If we start talking about the impacts of what is going on in St. Patrick, it's gone already. So, of course, it is desirable. But as stewards of the nation, we are not going to simply go borrow money for the sake of borrowing money. And that's precisely why we have no agreement. So, the same way in which he claims he rejected interest rates that were unfavorable, it's the same way we are not going to accept interest rates that are not favorable to us. So, when we're talking about managing the affairs of the nation, all of the doomsday story that they've repeated over and over, paying the pensions, go bankrupt the country. Did they bankrupt the country? Anytime measures are made to alleviate the hardships that people are going through, do you know how many people come and ask for tuition assistance because they can't pay to go to TAMCC? Or they can't pay to go to NULO? So why in 2022, as part of the election gimmick, you didn't take it off and send them to school too? And tell them they didn't have to pay? You had the power to do so. These are simple, common sense, straightforward measures to help empower people. So we are here, Mr. Speaker, because the law requires parliamentary approval for borrowing. It requires us to be transparent. We did not come here and say we borrowed 100 million US. We have not. We are seeking authorization to do so. And I can assure you that the debt management unit, the policy advisors, and the other technical staff of the Ministry of Finance will continue to represent the best interests of Grenada and ensure that if we do get to the point where there's a need to sign a loan agreement, that it will be on terms that are concessionary. And crucially, we will ensure that the drawdown periods and so on are adequate to ensure that the projects happen. One of the issues that we are confronted with and we've inherited is the fact that many of these other loans, and in some instances grant money, have been made available because an idea was developed, but not an actual project. And when you don't have an actual project that is implementable, then what happens is you have 3-4 years between approval of money, approval of loans, and project implementation. And that is what has plagued us. And we are still challenged with it. So, Mr. Speaker, this is merely authorization to borrow. We have not borrowed, and the public can be rest assured that if we get to the point where we need to sign a loan agreement, the terms of the loan agreement will be made known. We will insist that it is transparent and that the terms are as favorable as they can be to Britain. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Right. So again, that was the most honorable Deacon Mitchell there. A really good rebuttal to the rubbish that Keith Mitchell was throwing out there in the parliament. And as usual, Keith Mitchell will not be there to hear the rebuttal. He always, or most of the times, he would just leave before the parliament sitting wraps up. That's his behavior. He doesn't care, in my belief. He's a good talker, but when it comes to the facts and laying the stuff on the table, he's not able to do that. That is why I believe the Speaker of the House, he should do more of what he did recently, but he should not say please. Just say sit down and shut your mouth. And the failure to sit down and shut his mouth, then ask the sergeant at arm to remove him from the parliament. That's what I think should happen. So, folks, it was not video, those on Facebook and YouTube, I was more concerned about. I was concerned about the audio, getting you to hear what our beloved Prime Minister had to say. So the quality is better. All right? The quality of the audio last night, it was not too clear. And the video was also blurry. So again, just saying, I decided to use a different format just to give you the audio and not the video, those on Facebook and YouTube.
That is unacceptable.
Honorable Leader of the
Members, Mr. Speaker, give...
Honorable Leader of the Opposition.
Jesus Christ. Mr. Speaker?
Honorable Leader of the Opposition.
Yes, Mr. Speaker.
Could you please have your seat? I want to say something to you, sir.
Yeah, I'm your little child. I'll sit.
No,
Mr. Speaker,
I use the word please.
No, serious, I'm your child.
Honorable, I use the word please to you,
I
sir.
am your child. Go ahead. That is unacceptable.
Honorable Leader of the Opposition.
Members, Mr. Speaker, give...
Honorable Leader of the Opposition.
Jesus Christ. Mr. Speaker?
Honorable Leader of the Opposition.
Yes, Mr. Speaker.
Could you please have your seat? I want to say something to you, sir.
Yeah, I'm your little child. I'll sit.
No,
Mr. Speaker,
I use the word please.
No, serious, I'm your child.
Honorable, I use the word please to you,
I
sir.
am your child. Go ahead.
Right. So that's the behavior you get from that little boy. All right. You remember Grace Duncan called him a little boy? You believe Grace Duncan didn't know? She knew. She knew that little boy had bad behavior. No manners.
That is unacceptable.
Honorable Leader of the Opposition.
Members, Mr. Speaker, give...
Honorable Leader of the Opposition.
Jesus Christ. Mr. Speaker?
Honorable Leader of the Opposition.
Yes, Mr. Speaker.
Could you please have your seat? I want to say something to you, sir.
Yeah, I'm your little child. I'll sit.
No,
Mr. Speaker,
I use the word please.
No, serious, I'm your child.
Honorable, I use the word please.
That is unacceptable.
Honorable Leader of the Opposition.
Members, Mr. Speaker, give...
Honorable Leader of the Opposition.
Jesus Christ. Mr. Speaker?
Honorable Leader of the Opposition.
Yes, Mr. Speaker.
Could you please have your seat? I want to say something to you, sir.
Yeah, I'm your little child. I'll sit.
No, I use the word please.
No, serious, I'm your child.
Honorable, I use the word please to you,
I
sir.
am your child. Go ahead.
That's the kind of behavior you get from this individual, this little boy, according to Grace Duncan, this little boy. You know, look at it. Look at it. I mean, look at it on display. This bad behavior. Ignorant. He's like a bully. Comes across like a bully. As though he wants to bully somebody. He comes across like a Fouchette. Like a Wajan. You know? Like a skirt girl going by the riverside to beat combos, to make melee. That's it. All right. So at this point, I want to feature the honorable David Andrew. So let's feature the honorable David Andrew, and it will be in audio format. So those on Facebook and YouTube, the screen will be black again, but listen to the audio. That is what is important. The message.
Thank you, Madam President. Good morning to you, ma'am, and good morning to all of you in the chamber, to my distinguished colleagues on the other side, and those of you on this side. Good morning to you, and good morning to all of our listeners and followers across Grenada, Carriacou, and Petite Martinique, whether you are at home or abroad. It's a delight to be with you and to be able to speak with you and to you. I rise to bring a brief report on some of the school readiness activities for our ministry, the Ministry of Education. And first, I'd want to report that from our reviews, all of our schools are ready for reopening come next week, live spell. There are a few with some ongoing work that we anticipate will be finished before the end of this week. And even then, we have contingency plans to ensure that should those works be interrupted by any reason, for any reason, be it natural causes or otherwise, there are contingency plans just about 6 or so of those schools. So the plan is well set. All schools are carded to be reopened on Monday, God's will. Madam President, I am pleased to announce that sometime last week, the Ministry of Education launched this year's School Uniform and School Supplies Assistance Program. The medium through which this program is administered is through the schools. So we've, since a couple months ago, since before the term ended, circulars were sent to schools advising principals to inform parents that they submit their names, fill the forms, and we got good responses and we got good cooperation from the schools to have the names of students, the over almost 2,000 recipients have their names submitted, forms filled. This year, Madam President, we are happy to report that we are using a technological medium. In fact, it was once piloted before. We do believe that it is the way to go in an era of technology. So this year, we are using machine-readable codes, QR codes, to have the payments made. And I recall last year when we had thousands of dollars to be spent printing the paper vouchers. And so in keeping with government's policy to reduce printing, we are happy that we are not printing, but we are using the phone numbers of the applicants, their parents, to have a QR code sent. There are vendors that have been trained, and at each of the vending sites, there are terminals that are specially adapted to read the codes. It itemizes the items that are available for school supplies and all of that, and the value and the payments are made through that medium. So we are very, very happy to do that. At this point, we have approximately
1,800 applicants and recipients, beneficiaries to the program, that we are happy to say that probably about over 1,600 of them have already been sent their QR codes. And I'm understanding that there are a few glitches with either some of the entries, so those are the other 200 or something are being rectified. And whatever the problems may be, we refer you to the Ministry of Education, the Student Support Services Unit, where the fixes will be done. This method, we assure you, apart from being more environmentally friendly and in keeping with government's no printing or low printing policy, it's safer. It can be used with or without internet. So if persons are worried that you have to be online to use it, no. You snap the code once you have it, and with or without internet, it functions. So it's not a challenge, and everybody has a phone. 90-something% of our population, let me put it that way, have phones, and so it's a very user-friendly medium. It might be new, and so for some it might take a little learning curve, but nothing that's new comes without a learning curve. And so we are happy, it's safer, and we've been well patronized, so we are happy to announce that. Madam President, I move quickly to the free tuition policy that was approved by our cabinet. Note, I say free tuition. I know there's been much noise in some quarters whether it's free education or free tuition. It's free tuition. Now, education comes in those settings with several different costs. Registration, identification, and some minimal charges. This policy is one where the government will pay the tuition fees associated with study at TAMCC or NULO, right, or any other approved center in time. And so we know that the $810 annual fee that was payable at the T.A. Mauricio Community College, that fee will be absorbed through this government's free tuition policy. Further, that same fee will be applied to persons pursuing studies at NULO. So I know it will cover the tuition part of NULO fees, but it will be an excess that will be applied to some of the other fees. So we want to make it clear, we are not saying there are no other fees. You may have to pay registration fees, you may have to pay T-shirts and other deliverables that you may get, the identification badge. We are not interfering with that at this point. But we are happy to bear the load of the $810 tuition fee, $810 tuition fee. We are very, very happy to do that. And Madam President, we continue to remove barriers to access in education. That's what this is. This is a very transformative gesture by this government. In some other place, I heard mention that that's not enough. It's not enough to remove the $810 because there are other fees. Well, I say in some other place, there was several years of opportunity to take away and to provide all that was needed. But that didn't happen in all the years that were there, 10, 15, 20. But we recognize on this side the importance of education and the power education has to transform lives meaningfully. And so we are moving in that direction. And so there's a budgetary allocation of $2.5 million allotted for that, and probably we'll talk about that in the bill. The programs at TAMCC, allow me to mention, Madam President, that even the pharmacology program that spans 3 years will benefit from this tuition assistance, and the $810 will be applied annually across the 3-year program, even there. So at this point, I want to make an appeal to every young person, every young man, every young woman from our rural communities in every part of Grenada to embrace this opportunity. If you've never been to TAMCC, you've never been to NULO, you've never had a skill, you've never gone on to improve your educational level and your educational attainment, this is the opportunity. I've met several young people who are high in praise to this government for this initiative. They anticipate going to college. Just this morning, I met one young lady, and she thanked me profusely on behalf of the government for removing the tuition fees. Commendation to our government. Madam President, I mention again that come September, we actually will have Grenadian history introduced in our school curriculum. I'm happy to have a copy in my hand of the junior history of Grenada that is going to be used in lower secondary and upper primary school, Grenadian history. We think this is a huge move in the direction of creating the awareness of Grenadianism, the importance of our culture, our heritage, and who we are, and what makes us Grenadian. And so we are very pleased. Written, in fact, thank you very much, AG, written by our own local, Dr. Nicole Dow. Yeah. The launch will be early next month. I think it's scheduled for the 5th, and you will hear more about that in other settings. Madam President, Spanish in selected primary schools is scheduled to start in about 10 of those schools at the primary level to create a stronger thrust towards bilingualism, understanding well that at the earlier stages in life, the brain is better wired for language acquisition. And because tourism is so important for us, we hope that there will be stronger uptake to the modern languages later down, and we'll benefit. I'm pleased to report too, Madam President, in the last sitting of the Senate, we spoke about the program that took place in June for the students who did not get the grade that was required to go on to secondary school but were however placed. And we reported great success. I'm here to report further that the Curriculum Department and the Ministry of Education has put together a continuation plan for support for school readiness program. And so in the phase 2, there is going to be 2 one-hour sessions weekly with teachers, guidance counselors, volunteers, and to support that grouping of students and others who might want it to ensure that they continue to benefit and that we don't leave any child behind as we go forward. Madam President, I want to spend a minute just talking about one last thing. Within the last few weeks, there has been lots of chatter about the government allegedly having a plan to introduce an LGBTQ curriculum in school come September. I struggle to understand that for a number of reasons, because I don't understand what an LGBTQ curriculum is. Yeah, thank you. I don't understand what an LGBTQ curriculum is, so I struggled to even conceptualize what was being thought when people say the minister is hiding, calling out the minister. Thank you, Mr. Clark. I probably beg for 2 minutes just to bring this matter to closure.
You have a maximum of 5 minutes.
Thank you, Madam President.
No more. Thank
So,
you.
but I want to put it on record. Despite that, I want to make it categorically clear to this honorable House that the Ministry of Education, the government, we have no plan to change the curriculum, neither to introduce any, well, I don't even know what the LGBTQ curriculum is, but that, I'm struggling with that. But we have no plan to introduce any such curriculum, and there is no plan to change the law, the legislation, contrary to what is being bantered about. And that the HFLE curriculum that is currently in use is the HFLE curriculum, the harmonized CARICOM framework curriculum that has been adopted since 2009. That's the same one that's being used, and there's no plan to change it. I want to further state, Madam President, that the confusion that probably has been created, probably out of mischief, probably out of malicious intent, probably surrounds a document, this document, which is an international technical guidance on sexuality education. A document that was first published in 2009, with all these international agencies, UNAID, UNFP, UNICEF, UN Women, WHO. All these organizations, Grenada is signatory to. This document was first published 2009. Grenada signed on to this in 2018. This document focuses comprehensive sexuality education, CSE. Grenada signed on to this document under the stewardship of the former administration in 2018. Teachers and guidance counselors were trained in 2019. This is not a curriculum. It's a guidance. It's an international guidance. And if you browse the document, you'd recognize that it has to be tailored and adapted to suit the culture and the values of the various international communities that you might choose to use it or apply it to. There is no exception for Grenada. If anything has to be used from this, because it's a guidance, it's a reference, it's not a curriculum, then it has to be adapted. It has to be within the values, within the cultural norms of the society to which it's applied. What's the fear? What's the worry? But it's not, and this was signed on to in 2018 under the former administration. I was Chief Education Officer in 2019 when teachers and guidance counselors were trained, and pastors came to me very concerned that time. And I had to allay their fears from the point of view of a person who is trained in the behavior sciences, from the point of view of a person who is a practicing Christian, from the point of view of the person who is a father. I have no real concerns about this, because at the end of the day, it's Grenadians who have a certain value system that are going to be required to pull from this document and apply, if they so choose, in the context of Grenadian values, Grenadian culture. I printed a couple copies, Madam President, that I probably just wanted to circulate to members of the House. But
1 minute more. 1 minute more on
Thank you,
this.
Madam President. So I probably will pass on circulating this so that the members of the House could benefit just from what the concept of comprehensive sexuality education is. But I want to assure you, the government has no such plan. So please, let's dispel that once and for all. The minister is not in hiding, but I struggle to understand what did they want us to respond to? What do we?
Right. So again, that was really good there by the Honorable David Andrew, and his clear statement on the position of the government. I hope those NNP supporters were listening, but even if they were, they would not continue to tell the truth. They're accustomed with lies and disinformation. But folks, I want to thank you for being a part of the program this morning. I want to wish you all the best. Have a wonderful day. I'll be back with you tonight in the Hub, starting from